I think I can sum up the whole message of the gospel in the next phrase. It doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you're going to. Again, it doesn't matter what's the point where you start at. What matters is the direction you're taking and the direction your life is taking. Think about it. In the gospel, the first man or the first son had the wrong starting point. He said to his father, I'm not going. He had the wrong starting point, but he had the right direction and ended doing his father's will. The other son, apparently, or not apparently, he started in the right spot. He said, yes, Father, I'm going. But he didn't take the right direction and didn't do his father's will. So in today's homily, I want to address two questions. The first question is, how do good people go bad? How do good people get worse? How do good people start in the right place but take the wrong direction? And the other question is, how do people who start in the wrong place find the right direction in their life? So let's go to the first question. And when you come to think about it, those who started in the right place but had the wrong direction are the chief priests and the elders of the people, those with whom Jesus is talking to. Why? They were the wise. They knew the scriptures. They were apparently starting in the right place. So the question is, why do people who start out in the right place go wrong? First, because normally what happens or can happen is you start getting prideful. You think you're better than the rest because you do what's right and the other people don't do what's right. Think about the chief priests and the elders and the scribes. What was wrong with these people? They thought too highly of themselves and too lowly about others. So I think we should ask ourselves the question, I am a Catholic who comes to Sunday Mass. Do I sometimes think better of myself than of others? Do I sometimes speak poorly of others behind their back? Do I have a high concept of myself and a low concept of others? Or am I capable of recognizing in myself always a sinner? Also, people who are good go wrong because they sleep or they rest in their laurels. I'll offer you an example of day-to-day life. Back when I was growing up, there was a great soccer player. Maybe you've heard about him. His name is Ronaldinho. He was from Brazil. He played in the top club in the world for Barcelona. And you know what happened? When this man reached the summit, he started getting fat. He missed trainings. He was out in clubs, partying, playing the drums when he was supposed to be training. So, second way in which good people go wrong is we sleep in our laurels. And sometimes it can happen, for example, to us priests. Sometimes we think, oh, I did enough penance when I was in the novitiate. Oh, I spent enough time in prayer back in the days when I was in my information. Now, I can skip of it. But I think we have to be aware always that you can rest in our laurels. And the third reason why good people can go wrong is because we forget that we are always in need of conversion. We're always in need of changing. We're always in need of starting over again. The second question is, then how do people who start in the wrong place get the right direction? And when Jesus says this parable, you know who are the people who start in the wrong place but headed in the right direction? Prostitutes and tax collectors. They were in the wrong place. I mean, tax collectors, they were traitors. They were, considered among the worst people you could hang out with. And the prostitutes the same. But how did they find the right direction? John the Baptist came. He preached. And this was the process. He preached. They listened. They brought these words to their own life. And they converted. You know what makes someone who is starting in the wrong place go in the right direction? Repentance. Contrition. That is what gets you going in the right place, going in the right direction. So, brothers and sisters, I want to ask you today, did you know that contrition is a virtue that we should work upon every day of our life? What does contrition mean? It means acknowledging every day of my life how much I have been loved by God and how poorly I have repaid what He has done for me. When you come to think about it, the saints lived this permanent contrition. Although they were much holier than all of us, the more they grew in holiness, the more they had contrition in their own heart. So I think that what gets you moving from the wrong place to the right direction is precisely repentance. And this is what got the prostitutes and the tax collectors go in the right direction. So let us bring it to practical terms. I have just told you, we should practice contrition all the time. But especially, where is the place where we should bring contrition? To the confessional. The main act that the penitent has to bring to the confessional is contrition. And as a priest, when I sit down in the confessional, you know what is the risk that I perceive? That sometimes people go to the confessional out of routine, because they have to go, because they do it every week, because it's part of their schedule. Or sometimes it happens that people go to confessional every 6 months and they say, I don't know what to confess because in the last 6 months I haven't killed anyone, so I've been pretty good. So what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, is repentance and bringing repentance to the confessional is something we should all be accustomed to do it. And that is our guarantee that when we move out of the path, that brings us to the right direction again. So, brothers and sisters, what did I want to share with you today? First question, why do good people go wrong? Because they think they're better. Because they rest in their laurels. Because they forget that they need contrition. That they need conversion. And what makes sinners to move in the right direction? Because they bring to their own life repentance in the same way as the tax collectors and the prostitutes did. So I want to finish this homily with this encouragement. Seek confession frequently. Seek confession once a month. Seek confession if you have fallen into a mortal sin and you've fallen away from the state of grace. But especially, come to confession never with a spirit of routine, but always with repentance and acknowledging how much you have been loved by God and how poorly you have repaid Him back. Remember, brothers and sisters, the bigger or the more intense the contrition that you bring to the confessional, the greater the grace that you obtain. If you bring a small amount of contrition, you get a small amount of grace out of the confessional. If you bring a big repentance, you get a big contrition. You get a lot of grace, and that will get you moving in the right direction.